Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast. And today I'm going to go over some news, notes, and rumors about AEW, specifically about the Continental Classic Tournament. So, if you guys don't know, today AEW, Tony Khan, and Tony Schiavone, they went live on AEW's YouTube channel today to discuss the Continental Classic, pretty much giving more details about the Continental Classic, what it entails, everything else like that, including all 12 participants were also announced as well during, this AEW broadcast today on YouTube. So, obviously I watched the video and got a lot of details about the Continental Classic Tournament that I wanted to share with you guys if you have not yet seen it. So, the Continental Classic Tournament is a 12 wrestler format. They compete in a round robin tournament. The tournament matches will begin on Dynamite and Collision. I'm not sure about Rampage, but I know for a fact it's Dynamite and Collision. As a matter of fact, the tournament actually kicks off tonight for Dynamite. The finals will all come to an end at the World's End pay-per-view at the Nassau Coliseum. The tournament will have two leagues. There will be a Blue League and a Gold League. Now, the participants for the Blue League are Bryan Danielson, Andrade El Idolo, Brody King, Claudio Castagnoli, Daniel Garcia, and Eddie Kingston. Now, talking about this blue group here, the group is absolutely stacked. But when the group was announced, there was one name that kind of not piqued my interest, but I was kind of like, wow, I was really surprised they put him in the tournament, and that was Brody King. I'm not taking anything away from Brody King at all. Great tag team with the House of Black, or the Kings of the Black Throne. Phenomenal tag team. But with that being said, and again, not taking anything away from Brody King, why are we not getting Malachi Black a part of this tournament, or for that matter, Buddy Matthews? I'm not taking anything away from Brody King, but I feel like if we're looking at it from face value, I think Malachi Black would have fit perfectly into this tournament, and I'm not really understanding why he's not a part of this tournament. But again, the Blue League consists of Bryan Danielson, Andrade El Idolo, Brody King, Claudio Castagnoli, Daniel Garcia, and Eddie Kingston. And Eddie Kingston also, he's bringing some heat into this tournament, man. I mean, him putting his titles on the line, being the Ring of Honor World Championship, as well as the New Japan Strong Openweight Championship on the line in this tournament. I mean, Eddie Kingston's not pulling any, he's not pulling any punches, man. This is everything that he has. His livelihood, like he said, his entire career is built off this match, and the accolades that he's had throughout his career, and putting both championships on the line for this tournament, man, is going to be absolutely insane. So, definitely keep an eye out for Eddie Kingston during this tournament. And then we get into the Gold League. The Gold League consists of Jon Moxley, Swerve, who just had an amazing match with Paige in that Texas Death Match, Roosh, Mark Briscoe, Jay Lethal, and Jay White was also announced for the Gold League. The Gold League, again, just like the Blue League, looks absolutely stacked. There was a couple of names that actually surprised me when they announced it, man. Jon Moxley. I was surprised they went with Jon Moxley. I'm happy that they did. I think Jon Moxley fits perfectly into this tournament. The two names I was kind of shocked by. I mean, I was happy that Swerve got brought into this tournament. I have a lot of praise for Swerve, and for Swerve to go through what he went through in that Texas death match with Paige just to be a part of this tournament. I mean, you got to give the guy credit where credit's due. Roosh, again, powerhouse. The two names that kind of shocked me was Jay White and especially Jay Lethal. Again, not taking anything away from Jay White or Jay Lethal, but, putting Jay Lethal into this tournament, I don't know what he's done to get himself a spot on this tournament. That's my point. If we're basing it off records and matches and stuff like that, Jay Lethal really, to me, hasn't done a damn thing to get into this tournament. Jay White, again, really shocked that Jay White's a part of this tournament. I'm happy that he is. But he just has, he's got this great storyline right now with MJF. And I'm sure that whole storyline's far from over. So I don't know if that whole storyline's dead from now, or gone from now, if you will. But Jay White's in the tournament, and I'm all for it. But I knew for a fact when the tournament was announced that there was going to be some names that everybody wants to see that were going to be left out of the tournament. Guys like Keith Lee. I was also surprised that Samoa Joe was not also a part of this tournament. I think Samoa Joe would have fit perfectly in this tournament. Malachi Black, like I suggested earlier when it pertains to Brody King being in the tournament. We didn't get Malachi Black as well. There's a lot of names that were still left off this list to be a part of this tournament. Kenny Omega is another name. Takeshita. I don't understand why Takeshita was not a part of this tournament. I think Takeshita would have been perfect in this tournament. Besides names like Jay Lethal and Brody King, I not taking anything away from those individuals, but Takeshita has had some banger matches in AEW. I don't understand why we're not putting him in this tournament. Not saying the tournament's not it's not terrible. The names that are listed on here are top names in AEW. And again, it's still going to be exciting to see, but definitely a lot of people did get left out of this tournament, which is insane to me. Speaking of the tournament, Tony Khan and Tony Schiavone both announced the rules of this tournament. And the rules are as followed. Each match will have a 20-minute time limit for each match. You can't go over 20 minutes or the match goes into a draw. Now, if you win the match, or if that individual wins the respective match, they earn 3 points in a victory. 1 point for a draw, and everybody is banned from ringside. So when Andrade's, obviously being managed by CJ Perry, she will not be able to be ringside during this match. Garcia is also in this tournament. He can have no alliance at that time with Angelo Parker and Matt Menard. They cannot come down to the ring at all. Everyone backstage that are not a part of this tournament are banned from ringside. You're on your own. Rouge can't have Preston Vance and Dralistico and all those guys come out to help him. He's on his own. So everybody's a part of this tournament. You're on your own. And with that being said, like I mentioned earlier, the tournament, it actually starts tonight on Dynamite, live on TBS at 8 p.m. Eastern. And a couple of matches were actually announced for tonight's tournament on Dynamite. And all these matches are elite. The first match that was announced was Rush versus Jay White. Again, very excited for this matchup to see Rush and Jay White in the ring on Dynamite tonight. It's going to be an absolute crazy match. The other two matches that were announced were Jay Lethal versus Swerve. Again, Swerve has been probably one of the best things going right now in AEW. He had a great match with Adam Page at Full Gear in that Texas Death Match. So he's coming off a hell of a match with Adam Page. I don't know how he's going to hold up against Jay Lethal, but it's going to be Jay Lethal versus Swerve as well tonight. And the other match that was announced is Jon Moxley versus Mark Briscoe. All these matches will take place tonight on Dynamite as part of the Continental Classic. That will take place tonight. It was also announced for Collision this Saturday on TNT that Daniel Garcia will face Claudio Castagnoli, and Eddie Kingston will have a match against Brody King as a part of the Continental Classic tournament, man. Again, these matches are going to start heating up. I'm excited for it, man, this round-robin tournament. I think a lot of fans were excited. I know Tony Khan and other superstars have mentioned that this might be the G1 that you see in New Japan that we're going to get in the States now. And if this thing actually pans out to be awesome, I hope they keep it around. I hope they do this tournament every year. But there is some small downsides to this tournament. If I'm going to sit here and diss the tournament, if you will, or be one of those people that are like, oh, this is kind of this is bullshit. The only thing my real issue that I have with this, two issues. Number one, the way that not the way it was announced, but nobody at the time really knew what the winner was going to get. So when Eddie Kingston was on Full Gear for the 0 hour and he had his match, which he retained his belt, he kind of how do I put this? He kind of broke the news that AEW was going to have another championship, which is the Continental Championship. Am I all for it? No, I'm not. And what I mean by that is that the way I understand it, that the Ring of Honor World Championship and the New Japan Strong Openweight Championship and this Continental Championship will all be into one, which will be the Continental Championship that will be defended on Ring of Honor, AEW, Dynamite, or Collision, and New Japan. My thing with that's cool, and that's great, and I am interested in seeing what the new belt design is for this Continental Championship, but wasn't that the whole stigma around the championship that Orange Cassidy currently holds now? Where he was supposed to defend it on different promotions, on the Indies, or New Japan, and so on and so forth. So why are we doing the same thing with this new championship that we already had? And the whole morale around this championship was that, Orange Cassidy was going to defend this belt all over the world. I mean, if you guys remember distinctly, at least I remember at the All-In post show from Wembley, you seen Orange Cassidy severely, really pissed off that he didn't get an opportunity to defend that international championship overseas. So it's like that's my only thing. And my other thing about this tournament that again, it's not really a jab. It's just a couple of names that were announced for this tournament kind of like was like whoa, like Brody King and Jay Lethal. To me, I would have put in Takeshita. I would have put in Keith Lee. I mean, even not even Keith Lee. I would have put Takeshita and Samoa Joe in this tournament. The fact that we're not seeing Samoa Joe or Takeshita a part of this tournament, to me, it is kind of a small issue. Samoa Joe's been on one hell of a run as of late. From what he's done with the Ring of Honor World Television Championship, the longest reigning television champion. He vacated that belt to go after MJF. Why are we not getting him a part of this tournament? Especially the tournament, it all comes down to, obviously at World's End, and MJF is probably going to most likely be on that, on that card. Why not? It's in New York. It's at the Nassau Coliseum. He's from New York. Are we going to now get Samoa Joe, MJF Part 2 at World's End? It's a possibility. It's another reason why Joe wasn't a part of this card. But again, doesn't answer the question about Takeshita either. Takeshita's not doing shit right now. Yes, he's with the Don Callis family. I understand that. But you can't put him into this tournament? I mean, Takeshita was even talking about it on Twitter and mentioning other names, like I mentioned to you guys last week when this tournament was announced, that it had a lot of vibes of AJPW, All Japan Pro Wrestling, where you had the triple belts and the Triple Crown Championship, if you will. And guys like Masawa and Kawada and Vader and Stan Hansen, they all had this championship for All Japan Pro Wrestling, Dr. Death Steve Williams. And that's what All Japan Pro Wrestling was all about. When you had those 3 championship belts, you were the man. You were the guy for All Japan Pro Wrestling. The elite, the best of the best. And I get what, Tony Khan and AEW are trying to do now with this championship, merging all 3 belts into one. I get it, even though we already have the International Championship that's supposed to be, defended on different brands, on independents and over New Japan and vice versa, and we're not getting that at all. So that's my only negative thing that I had to really say about this tournament, is that some of the names on here were kind of, at best, lackluster, maybe. And the whole idea around this championship, if it's going to be defended, this Continental Championship is going to be defended on Ring of Honor and AEW television, whether it be Dynamite or Collision or New Japan. Well, we already have the International Championship, and that whole stigma around that championship was that the person who had that belt was going to be defending that belt on the Indies, New Japan, who knows, Pro Wrestling Noah, who the hell knows? But that has not happened. And to me, it's the number 2 championship right now for AEW that Orange Cassidy, currently holds right now. So I don't know, what they're really going to do with this championship. I'm excited to see what it looks like, because for what it's worth, the AEW titles look amazing. I remember when the AEW World Championship was announced and Bret Hart came down to the ring with the title in his hand and he revealed the title, and it was amazing. It's a beautiful belt. But, this tournament's going to be crazy. At the end of the day, am I excited for this tournament? Yes. I think this tournament is going to be very exciting for the fans. I think it's going to get a lot of eyeballs on the product for AEW as well as Collision, because people are going to be invested in this tournament. People want to see what's going to happen. Who's going to come out to be in the finals? Is it going to be Bryan Danielson? Is it going to be Eddie Kingston? Is it going to be Jon Moxley? Or wild card, is it going to be Swerve? And like I said to you guys before, I have a lot of praise for Swerve, man. Swerve is one of those guys that have been really putting AEW on the map. And you can't tell me otherwise, because look at the damn match that he just had with Adam Page. It was a banger match. And there was even some people that are actually disappointed with that match because they said Swerve and Page took it over the top. In my opinion, they didn't. It was one of the greatest Texas death matches I've ever seen in my entire life. Those guys tore the house down that night at the Forum. They tore it down. So to see Swerve in this tournament after the crazy match he had with Page at Full Gear, I mean, it's going to be incredible. And not for nothing, he has his first tournament match tonight against Jay Lethal. I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it. And again, this all comes to an end. The finals of the tournament will take place at World's End in New York at the Nassau Coliseum. I'm all excited for it, man. I think this is great. I think it's great for AEW. I think it's great for the competitors that are involved in this tournament. It gets a lot more spotlight on them. And I mean, when Tony Schiavone and Tony Khan announced the participants, man, I was like, wow. I mean, for the gold group, the first name they started with was Jon Moxley. Then Swerve, Roosh, Mark Briscoe, Jay Lethal, and then Jay White. And then the blue group, you got Bryan Danielson, Andrade, Brody King, Claudio Castagnoli, Daniel Garcia, and Eddie Kingston. It's a solid tournament. Like I said, I'm not taking anything away from the tournament, but there are some names that I believe that are truly missing out that should be involved in this tournament. And to me, Takeshita is definitely one that rings a bell. And Samoa Joe, again, also rings a bell. Why is he not a part of this tournament? Now, obviously, there's a storyline right there between Max and Joe, and I understand that. And we might get a rematch between MJF and Joe that might, happen at World's End. Great. But there are some names that are not a part of this tournament that should be. Keith Lee, again, should have been a part of this tournament. Malachi Black should have been a part of this tournament. So, obviously, not everybody's going to be enthused and happy about all the participants in this tournament. I mean, for what it's worth, I'm just happy alone that Jeff Jarrett's not a part of this damn thing, to be honest with you. And I know there might be some fans out there that are Jeff Jarrett fans or Jeff Jarrett elitist. God bless you. But that man does not need to be any part of this tournament at all. Period. At all. So, again, very excited. I kind of wanted to break the news to you guys about what was going on with AEW, especially when it pertains to the Continental Classic Tournament. All the news kind of came out about an hour, 2 hours ago, with AEW announcing the participants, the rules as well for the tournament. And the tournament's going to start tonight on Dynamite, man. Like I said, the first couple matches for Dynamite tonight, as far as the tournament are concerned, is Rush versus Jay White, Jay Lethal versus Swerve, Jon Moxley versus Mark Briscoe. That will all happen tonight live on Dynamite, on TBS at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And again, man, I'm very excited for it. But like I said, I wanted to break the news to you guys, especially when it pertains to the Continental Classic Tournament. But with that being said, this is kind of my news and notes and rumors of AEW. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys later for my review of AEW's Dynamite. Peace.